You know, life out here on the range can get kinda lonesome. Sometimes you just need a buddy to tag along with. Someone you can talk to, and they talk back to you. In these moments, the most powerful friendships can blossom. Very powerful friendships. Very, very powerful friendships. Howdy, partners. My name's C.B. Smith, and I'm going to be talking about Brokeback Mountain, both the movie and the short story it's based on. And I'm going to do my best not to spoil anything for y'all. That's better. One night, author Annie Prowl was at a bar in Saratoga, Wyoming. While sitting down, she noticed an older man looking over at two younger guys playing pool. According to Prowl, he had a kind of lost, sad look on his face. The author imagined the man might have been gay, and living in Wyoming at the time, she had an idea what would happen if the man opened up about his sexuality. Not good. The answer is not good. Like, literally a year after the short story was published, Matthew Shepard was murdered in Wyoming and became one of the most high-profile gay hate crime victims in the country, and this is getting very sad. That moment in the bar gave Prowl the idea to write Brokeback Mountain, published in 1997 in The New Yorker, with the movie taking some time to be made in 2005. The story is about two ranch hands, Enos Delmar and Jack Twist, herding sheep up on Brokeback Mountain for the summer, where they fall in love, but decide to separate but eventually meet up again, where the next 20 years they carry on an affair. Sad things happen and I cry at the end. Brokeback Mountain, the book, is like 50 some odd pages long, and it's one of the few times reading the book would actually take less time than watching the movie. The short story begins at the end, with an old Enos in the 1980s getting ready to move into his daughter's house due to the ranch he was living on being bought out by the bank, a very common reality for farmers and ranchers at the time. The movie decides to begin in the 60s when Enos and Jack first meet for the job. The short story is entirely in Enos' point of view. Even with us, the reader, following Enos for 20 years, we aren't given much, mostly because of how short the story is told. It's fairly quick, with weeks or even years breezed through in some passages. When adapting the story, it was decided to work on those scenes so we see with a closer look how both Enos and Jack's marriages evolve over the years, with Jack being more distant while his wife moves up in the company they work for, and Enos working low-paying construction jobs and ranch jobs with not much incentive to move higher up. Scenes like this do happen in the book, in maybe one or two sentences mentioning them, while in the movie they expanded on it. One thing the movie wanted to explore, and I have no idea why, is this back and forth about beans.
Thought you didn't eat soup.
Yeah, I'm sick of beans.
Too early in the summer to be sick of beans.
I get down here hungry as hell and all I find is beans.
It just keeps going.
Beans about all we got left. Beans, 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 beans.
What about beans? Don't you want someone to care about you?
No. Let's talk about beans. I'm surprised the big scene in the tent didn't end up a little differently. I hate myself putting this joke in here. Speaking of the tent in that scene, you know the one. It's been almost 15 years since Brokeback Mountain came out, and this scene in particular was talked about with so much hype, or disgust, depending on who said it. The reality is much more along the line of, that's it? I was honestly a little disappointed. Even in 2005, what was shown was so tame. I can probably show the scene in this video without any fear of this video being demonetized or flagged, mostly because my channel isn't big enough to be noticed. But also because the short story and the movie are just so not offensive. Brokeback Mountain is a story about homophobia, according to Annie Prowl, but it's framed entirely as a romance, in its most barest of definitions. The romance between Enos and Jack are the base for all things happening in the story. There are no big set moments about being gay, no riots, no marches for equal rights, no rallies, no arrests. It's just the relationship. Making the story so small in scale, focusing on people and their families instead of something overtly political or social, is probably the reason why it rung with so many people, gay or straight. And maybe making the one gay sex scene so PG-13 may have made the gayness so easy to digest for those who are more religiously conservative. It did not.
It's forbidden! I forbid you!
Brokeback Mountain wasn't shown in some theaters because the owners boycotted it. There were public protests and outcries. People that did come into the theaters left in disgust. And yet, there are movie review articles written in Christian publications talking very positively about the movie, about how it's well acted. The Wyoming country is beautiful, even though it's filmed in Canada, and the story about forbidden love kept their interest. But the movie had just one problem. And all those damn beans.
Well, beans were a staple of the Israelites. Yes, proceed. Avert your eyes, children. He may take on other forms.
My two favorite articles that cover this movie are actually from Andrew Seeley's Finding God on Brokeback Mountain, where he tries to frame the movie as a story about being human, and the struggles and acceptance. It was actually really good, but then the f***ing editor had to chime in with a note saying that this whole article existence is because of some kind of progressive quota they force on themselves. Then David Kupeline's Rape of the Marlboro Man article has this beautiful line. Yes, the talents of Hollywood's finest are brought together in a successful attempt to making us experience Enos's suffering, supposedly inflicted by a homophobic society. Heath Ledger's performance is brilliant and devastating. We do indeed leave the theater feeling Enos's pain. Mission accomplished. Thanks, I hate it. And that's Brokeback Mountain, the little short story that shook up so many adults and made them uncomfortable, including the president.
I was just wanting to get your opinion on Brokeback Mountain, if you'd seen it yet. You would love it. You should check it out.
I hadn't seen it. I'd be glad to talk about ranching, but I haven't seen the movie. I've heard about it.
Normally a movie takes out aspects of a story to fit into a movie runtime, but in this case, more was actually added and explored in the adaptation than the original short story. The short story was also really good and now has a permanent space on my very, very limited space bookshelf. Until next time, guys, this is CB Smith, and thanks for taking a page.
You forgetting to bring that harmonica. I'm enjoying the peace and quiet.